The following graph gives information about wasted food in UK. The items include saved, recycled and thrown away. According to this graph, in distribution and retail, the value of saved food is around 1 megaton, and that of household including to drain is higher, which is around 2 megaton. You can see from this graph that the highest value of thrown away food is in household including to drain, which is 8 megatons. You can also see from this graph that the highest value of saved food is in food and drink manufacturing waste. In conclusion, hospitality sector has the second highest amount of thrown away food.
The following graph gives information about a kitchen. This is a very beautiful picture, and it shows a number of things. According to this graph, in the central area, there is a square table with 4 chairs. The color of it is green. You can see from this graph that, in the right area, there is a refrigerator. The color of it is white. You can see from this graph that, in the background, there are some cupboards. The color of those are pink. There is also a sink and a gas cooker. And an oven is beside the refrigerator. In conclusion, this picture is very informative.
The following graph gives information about a wheelchair. This is a very beautiful picture, and it shows a number of things. According to this graph, at the central area, there is a wheelchair in which a woman is sitting. You can see from this graph that, behind the wheelchair, there is a younger man who is pushing the wheelchair. You can see from this graph that, in the background, there are many trees and a large lawn, and the color is green. The weather is sunny. The sky is blue and clear. In conclusion, this picture is very informative.
The following graph gives information about barriers to visiting museums or galleries. The items include lack of time, cost of entry and transport problems. According to this graph, in caregiver responsibilities, the value is around 10%, and that of cost of entry is higher, which is around 12%. You can see from this graph that the highest value is in lack of time, which is 55%. You can also see from this graph that the lowest value is in lack of information about events. In conclusion, this bar chart is informative.
The following graph gives information about where international companies have their headquarters. The items include UK, Germany, France and other countries. According to this graph, in Belgium, the value is around 12, and that in Ireland is higher, which is around 20. You can see from this graph that the highest value is in UK, which is 210. You can also see from this graph that the lowest value is Denmark. In conclusion, this bar chart is informative.
The following graph gives information about education pays. The items include doctoral, master, bachelor and associate degrees. According to this graph, in unemployment rate, the value of doctoral degree is around 1.4%, and that of master's degree is higher, which is around 1.8%. You can see from this graph that the highest value of median weekly earnings is in doctoral degree, which is $1,500. You can also see from this graph that the lowest value of median weekly earnings is in associate degree. In conclusion, the higher the degree, the lower the unemployment.
The following graph gives information about a contract about a house. This is a very beautiful picture, and it shows a number of things. According to this graph, in the central area, there is a house. The color of its walls is white. You can see from this graph that, above the house, there is a couple of hands shaking each other. You can see from this graph that, below the house, there are some pieces of paper on which a contract of the house is written with a black pen. There is also a string of keys beside the house. All these are on a green desk. In conclusion, this picture is very informative.
The following graph gives information about honey production by state in Mexico. The items include Central Zone, Northern Zone, and Southern Zone. You can see from this graph that the value of Northern Zone is around 1 to 3%. You can see from this graph that the value of Southern Zone is around 3 to 10%, which is higher. You can see from this graph that the value of Central Zone is around 10 to 16%, which is the highest. You can see from this graph that the value of Eastern Zone is around 10 to 16%, which is the highest, too. In conclusion, this graph is very informative.
The following blue bar chart gives information about a survey of points of view. The vertical axis is of what extent respondents agree with something to, including strongly agree, agree, neither agree nor disagree, disagree, strongly disagree. The horizontal axis is of the number of responses. Agree has the biggest number, about 1,600, followed by strongly agree, about 1,300. Then neither agree nor disagree has the number 1,000, followed by strongly disagree. And disagree has the lowest number. In conclusion, the bar chart is very informative.
The following graph gives information about domestic airline passengers. The items include intercapital, leisure, and all. According to this graph, in all, the value is around 2, and that of intercapital is higher, which is around 2.5. You can see from this graph that the highest value is in mining exposed, which is around 8. You can also see from this graph that the lowest value is in leisure. In conclusion, airline passengers have different values.
The following graph gives information about flu vaccination rates. The items include South Korea, UK, and USA. According to this graph, in USA, the value of vaccination rate is around 68%, and that of UK is higher, which is around 72%. You can see from this graph that the highest value is in South Korea, which is 85. You can also see from this graph that the lowest value of is in Turkey. In conclusion, flu vaccination rates vary greatly.
The following graph gives information about the view of a street in fog. This is a very beautiful picture, and it shows a number of things. According to this graph, at the central area, there are 3 bicycles ridden by women at the front. The color of them is black. You can see from this graph that, behind the bicycles, there is a thick blanket of fog covering a lot of people and street lights. The color of the fog is white. You can see from this graph that, at the background, there are 4 straight dashed lines on the road surface. The color of those are white. The weather is foggy. The sky is gray. In conclusion, this picture is very informative.
The following graph gives information about pounds of chocolate consumed per capita in countries each year. The items include Switzerland, Germany, Ireland, Norway, etc. According to this graph, in Sweden, the value is 11.9, and that of Australia is lower, which is around 10.8. You can see from this graph that the highest value is in Switzerland, which is 19.8. You can also see from this graph that the lowest value is in France. In conclusion, Switzerland consumes more chocolate than any another county does.
The following graph gives information about percentages by age and sex. The items include age groups, female and male. According to this graph, in male, the value of 85 plus is around 0.7, and that of 75 to 84 is higher, which is around 3. You can see from this graph that the highest value of female is in 25 to 34, which is 16.5. You can also see from this graph that the value of less than 4 is 7.8. In conclusion, 85 plus has the lowest percentage of population in female.
The following graph gives information about Europe. Positions of different countries are displayed on the map. At the central area, there are Austria, Germany, Poland and Czechia. In the left area, there are Ireland and Portugal. According to this graph, the largest country is Russia, which is located on the right side. In comparison, small countries include Denmark and Belgium. In conclusion, there are many European countries shown on the map.